As the flowers bloomed back in spring of 2007, the Portuguese town of Praia da Luz welcomed Kate and Jerry McCann. They were spending a week at the Ocean Club, a family-friendly resort where the biggest drama is the tennis court being booked up, or someone complaining about the price of sangria. It was set to be an easy breezy break in the Algarve, alongside their 3 young kids and a group of mates, all splashing around in the swimming pool and hanging out on the beach. But 5 days into their stay, a bit of late night supper put an abrupt end to any fun, igniting a worldwide conspiracy that would flip the McCann's lives upside down forever and bring all the freaks out the woodwork.
Madeleine is a beautiful, bright, funny and caring little girl.
The disappearance of Maddie McCann has created a generation of armchair detectives, generated millions in revenue, and strangest of all, birthed a Polish tribute act.
I believe that I am Madeleine McCann.
Miss Julia Wandelt. But before we dive into Julia, let's go back to the night it all went wrong. On the evening of May 3rd, Kate and Jerry slipped into the same routine they'd been using since they arrived, putting 3-year-old Maddie and their 2 baby twins to bed. They left the children alone and asleep, and made the short stroll to the resort's tapas bar to eat with their mates. Half an hour after they sat down, Jerry traipsed back to the apartment to check in on the kids. It was a little after 9 p.m, and once he poked his head through the door and saw Maddie and the twins still fast asleep, he went back to the restaurant.
Madeleine was just at the top of the bed here where I'd left her. I had one of those really proud father moments where I just thought, you're absolutely beautiful and I love you. And I just paused for a minute. And then I just pulled the door, closed again, just about there.
It was Kate's turn at 10, but upon entering apartment 5A, hell became a place on earth. Because although the twins were fast asleep in their cots, the small bed in the corner of the room was empty, and Maddie was nowhere to be found.
I just had this utter sensation of disbelief, and I was saying they can't be gone, she can't be gone, she must be there. Kate was screaming hysterically that she'd checked and she was gone and someone had taken her.
Once it became clear she wasn't just hiding in the apartment, the resort went on red alert. The staff notified police, and the McCanns began what would eventually turn into the biggest missing child campaign in British media history.
Last Thursday evening, a little girl called Maddie was taken from the family hotel room in the Algarve in southern Portugal. As I'm sure you understand, we need to do everything possible to help the police with their inquiries in finding her.
Most missing people are discovered within hours, but this was a little kid who could hardly hop herself on a late night bus and flee the area. Overnight, the winding streets of Praia da Luz were raked by search teams to little success. They checked the pools and bushes, but as the hours ticked by, hope was starting to fade. By morning, journalists from around the world flew into Portugal, and Maddie's photo was plastered across every news broadcast. She was just shy of her 4th birthday, and with Kate and Jerry being doctors, it was the perfect middle-class tragedy to fill the front pages.
We've taken tremendous strength from the warmth and the spiritual outpouring which we've received here and from all around the world, and that has given us great encouragement and hope that we will bring back Madeleine safely.
Appearing on camera, issuing statements and begging for information, her parents were obviously gutted. But the more visible they were, the more scrutiny followed. Their demeanour was pulled apart, and as much as there was sympathy, it was underlined by an air of distrust. The world was baffled as to why they thought it would be a good idea to leave their kids at home whilst they nipped out for some grilled halloumi. Woo! I hope you had some chili jam with it, Kate and Jerry. Sorry, I shouldn't pick on you, you're missing a kid. As days turned into weeks, with no trace of Maddie and very few leads for Portuguese police to pursue, it was no longer just a story of a missing child, instead becoming an international debate about parental responsibility and what on earth actually happened that night. There were really 2 schools of thought, and still are to this day, with evidence pointing in either direction and confirming neither. Maddie had either been nabbed by a stranger, or her parents know more than they've ever admitted.
Words cannot describe the anguish and despair that we are feeling as the parents of our beautiful daughter Madeleine. We request that anyone who may have any information related to Madeleine's disappearance, no matter how trivial, contact the Portuguese police and help us get her back safely. Please, if you have Madeleine, let her come home to her mummy, daddy, brother and sister.
Obviously, tucking your kids up in bed and then going out on the piss is beyond thick. I couldn't fathom leaving my babies at home alone, let alone in a foreign country. So as much as I wouldn't wish a missing kid on anybody, I do struggle to put myself in their mindset. Kate and Jerry did admit it was pretty dippy of them, but they truly felt the resort was safe. And I suppose the apartment is just across the pool and within sight of the table where they sat. But the Ocean Club wasn't exactly Alcatraz. I think even calling it a resort is a little misleading and evokes this image of a compound only accessible to guests. But that only really applies to the pool area and the tapas bar.
I can't remember exactly where the table was. It's kind of in, so it'd be about round here. And I was kind of sitting in this bit. I think Kate was here. You could see where the shutters are now and the bit of the hedge, and it was cut, you know, a couple of feet lower than that.
Sure, one side of the block is facing the restaurant, but the actual bedroom Maddie and the twins slept in backed onto a car park that absolutely anybody could enter. And there's even a side gate leading from the public road onto apartment 5A's back patio. So although it was only 100 feet away, I just can't see the logic in thinking it was in any way safe, knowing a car could pull up to the front whilst you're throwing calamari and white wine down your neck, or a curious toddler may make her way out the window and be struck down in the streets, and you'd be none the wiser. But leaving the kids unattended had become a bit of a habit. The McCanns and their mates, later christened the Tapas 7, had gone out to eat without the kids nearly every night of their holiday, rotating who walked back to the apartments to peek in on the kids. And although some of their mates did take the initiative to use baby monitors, Kate and Jerry did not, and it may not have changed what happened to Maddie, but at least they would have had some clue as to what was going on inside, like the night prior to the disappearance, where the upstairs neighbour heard what sounded like a child crying for hours on end. Apparently, Kate and Jerry had returned from their dinner that evening to a devastated Maddie, bawling her eyes out and wondering why her parents weren't there. But this wasn't enough to cancel their reservations the following night, or even take advantage of the babysitting service offered by the resort. Instead, Madeleine was put to bed as usual and never seen again. For those who believe her parents had some sinister involvement, their leading belief is sedation gone wrong. It's thought that Maddie and the twins were put to sleep by Kate and Jerry, with that theory being wrapped up in a bow by them both being medical doctors. And with Maddie waking up the night before, maybe the dosage was increased, causing her to slip into a never-ending sleep, or gravely injuring herself in a drowsy state. But thinking this would be to believe Kate and Jerry orchestrated a flawless cover-up, hiding Maddie under the nose of police, and somehow getting rid of her body whilst the world's media followed their every move. To me, it just doesn't seem very possible. I reckon the most likely explanation, no matter how harrowing it may be, is that she was taken.
I was very upset to hear of the abduction of Madeleine McCann. I appeal to anyone with information to come forward. Please come forward.
It's unthinkable to most people, but evil does exist out there in this big bad world. And I think on that cold Thursday evening, it was stalking the streets of Praia de Luz. The McCanns had a predictable routine that could easily be exploited by some scumbag with their sights on Maddie. The doors to 5A were left unlocked to make it easier for the group to check on each other's kids. And it was well known amongst resort staff, and really anybody with eyeballs, that Kate and Jerry had a habit of leaving the kids alone.
So horrific.
Apparently, the tapas bar even had a reservation book within sight of the public, detailing the McCann's plans to dine every evening, with there even being a note requesting a certain table so they can keep eyes on the apartment. Their accounts are a little blurry, but it's said that Jerry last saw Maddie an hour before Kate discovered she was missing, leaving plenty of time for somebody to head into the apartment, grab her, and be long gone before a soul realised anything was wrong. During a check of their own kids, one of the Tapas 7 even said they saw a man walking away from the resort and carrying a small child, wearing pink pyjamas that matched what Maddie would have been wearing. There are many quiet routes heading away from the town, through hilly, secluded areas, and if somebody had a nautical flair, just down the road is the Atlantic. It's a common affair for boats to come and go from Praia de Luz, heading down the Algarve to Lagos, and even through the Strait of Gibraltar and into Morocco, so to pinpoint a way which the abductor went would be impossible. There was no CCTV and no concrete sightings, but in recent years, there has been one man on the police's radar, Mr. Christian Bruckner. Christian is a German scumbag with ties to the Algarve area and a truly horrendous criminal history. He was 31 when Maddie disappeared and had just moved out of a property only a 5-minute drive from the McCann apartment. He was said to be living in a beat-up VW camper van that many had seen lurking around the Ocean Club, and phone records even placed him nearby on the night she vanished. He was known for breaking into holiday homes and other grimier offences, with convictions related to diddling young kids and even the elderly. In fact, he served a couple stints in prison, the most recent being the bleep of a 72-year-old woman, having been put away in 2019 and released at the start of 2025. So yeah, he's about as bad as they come. German authorities have told the public that they believe Christian was responsible for Madeleine's disappearance, claiming the proof Maddie was no longer alive. But with the case still ongoing, they haven't ever disclosed what that evidence actually is.
We don't have Madeleine McCann's body, but we expect that she's
bleep.
We have some evidence that the suspect has done the deed, but we need more information from people, places he has lived, so we can target these places specially and search there for Madeleine.
He denies involvement, of course, but considering his history, it's not hard to see why he's the most likely suspect. At the start of this month, Christian celebrated his 49th birthday, and as of right now, he is still the central figure of the investigation, living off-grid amongst the trees in northern Germany after being moved out of hostels, government accommodation, and temporary housing because locals protested his presence. But Christian isn't a ghost. British journalists tracked him down just last month, finding him surrounded by a tarpaulin-covered tent, half-eaten jars of food and a sleeping bag. When questioned about Maddie, he was fuming, snapping at the crew and lunging for the cameras.
Mr. Bruckner,
bleep.
Madeleine McCann. Hey, Mr. Bruckner.
Although German police have named him as the most credible suspect, he has not yet been convicted of any crimes related to the disappearance. And without a confession or the discovery of her body, we may never find out what happened to Madeleine. The suspected involvement of Christian indicates she'll never be seen again. But that doesn't mean the case is closed. As well as millions of pounds worth of funding being poured into finding her, and the involvement of 3 separate police departments, the investigation is kept alive by internet detectives around the world, with TikToks and Reddit forums buzzing with thoughts and theories as to what happened that fateful night. Honestly, just take a look at the comments on this video, and I'm sure there'll be people who reckon they can crack the case after a glass of rosé. And as much as the majority of people probably mean well, there are some freaks out there who don't just want the truth about Maddie, they want to be her.
I don't know how I will make the truth come out, and I don't know how I will get this DNA test of grand jury, but I know that I will do this. I'm not going to give up, and yes, I will do this.
This is Julia Wandelt. Julia lives in Poland with her cat, loves to write music, and despite having an entire family who say she's talking out of her roop, has spent the last 2 years telling anyone with a pair of ears she is Madeleine McCann. Well, I guess you weren't kidnapped by the Von Trapps. Sharing her story back in 2023, Julia gained 1 million followers on a now deleted Instagram by posting comparisons of herself and Madeleine, as well as the rest of the McCanns. Her claims even took her stateside and straight onto the Dr. Phil stage.
I believe that I am Madeleine McCann.
You're pretty clear about that.
Yes.
She says that she believes she is Madeleine McCann, but many have speculated that Julia may not be telling the truth, that she might just be an attention seeker.
And that's fine, crave the spotlight all you like, but maybe join a theatre group and just do a few jazz hands or something. I don't think there's any need to involve a missing child.
I want to know the truth. That's all.
And the truth you will get, but I don't think you're quite prepared to hear it. Julia did get a DNA test in an effort to confirm her suspected British ancestry, but to nobody's surprise, her results prove she was as Polish as a pierogi. Despite the confirmation, Julia has had a hard time accepting reality.
I don't understand this. Someone really doesn't want to find Madeleine. Someone really doesn't want it, because I know that many girls pretended to be Madeleine in the past, Well, I really believed, and I really still believe, in this.
Maddie's most famous characteristic is a mark on her eye. Called a coloboma, it looks like a smear of the pupil, and I suppose Julia may have a slight smudge, but I think it's clear to see this is a completely different person.
The thing is that the child will never come back the same.
Oh, well, no, probably not, mate, but I think you would be at least similar on a cellular level.
I will do anything that I have to do. I need to do to find out the truth, and no one can stop me.
Spending the last 2 years barking on, she badgered the McCanns as well as the Tappers 7 with phone calls and messages, as well as reaching out to the twins. Although she was swerved, the dial was turned up last Christmas when Julia flew out from Poland, met up with a mate, and then turned up at the McCann's house, leaving a handwritten note begging for their attention. Ring doorbell footage has since been released of the pair canvassing the area, loitering about like an alien from Signs. Flying out from Poland once again earlier this year, Julia arrived in Bristol Airport and landed herself in the UK courts.
It's funny and it's sad in the same time.
Yeah, I think you can say that again. The case concluded last month with Julia being found guilty of harassment, sentenced to 6 months in prison and ordered to leave the McCanns alone. I've had a look for her new Instagram, and although she is still making subtle hints about the truths being uncovered, as per her comments, it looks like she may have finally taken in. From Africa to Australia, there have been thousands of potential Maddie sightings over the years, but not one has shown a lick of promise. With over £10 million of police funding and hundreds of interviews conducted, I don't think anybody's forgetting about Maddie anytime soon. I'm sure the true crime cogs will continue to spin, and a new Netflix series is probably slated to be released every handful of years. But unless the Christian story sticks, I severely doubt we'll ever learn the truth about what happened in apartment 5A. But if there's one thing we know for sure, it certainly isn't gonna be from a miscellaneous Polish lady. There will always be weirdos around the world who find warmth in another's shadow, unable to see the light in their own life. God, I couldn't imagine wanting to be anyone else well other than me. I suppose imitation is a form of flattery. I mean, look at Ollie London pretending to be a Korean boy band member, the Ariana Grande wannabe, and the episode of The Weakest Link with the worst celebrity lookalikes I've ever seen.
I'm Greg Endine and I'm a pucker Jamie Oliver lookalike.
I'm Jill Penny and I spend my days pretending to be posh.
It's strange enough when it's a pop star, but I think missing kids especially should be off the table. If by any chance you're watching this, Julia, zajdź pomoc. I think you need it. And to everyone else, thanks so much for watching and for your support this year. I really appreciate it. I hope you're having a good Christmas and I'll see you in 2026. Bye. I see you when you're sleeping. I know when you're awake. I know if you've been bad or good, so be naughty. Go on, it's fun.